Alright, good afternoon everyone. Today I'm going to demonstrate setting up a CADD infusion pump for our hospice patients. Before me I have all the supplies that you will need. Most of them will come in the box from the pharmacy, including the key, the battery, the pump itself, the bolus dosing button, the actual cartridge of medication, the Subq needle and tubing, ChloroPrep for the skin, and the connection tubing that goes between the patient and the cartridge. In the IPU, we always have a cheat sheet that was written by Pam that also will go over everything in to change the programming setup. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to double check the cartridge that came in to make sure that it's the right patient, right medications. Our orders on this one are 10 milligrams per 1 milliliter with a dose of 2 milligrams per hour, a bolus of 1.5 milligrams every 6 minutes with a max 5 dosing lockout. So we're going to get started here. First thing you're going to do is open the side cartridge here where the 9-volt battery will go. You'll drop it in, put the lid back on it, and you can hear it starting to come to life and beep. And you'll see that it's going to fire up with the battery in place. So while that's firing up, we're going to go over the cartridge. So this cartridge is a hard plastic with a bag-like pillow inside that's full with the medication. The clamp will be on it. This would have a cap if this was sterile and brand new from the pharmacy. You can see it's got hook pins here and a bracket here. So as we look here, the pump's doing an automatic review, which the pharmacy should actually set everything up for you. But we're going to let it go through its cycle first. You can tell that the clamp is on the cartridge here to keep it from potentially flowing out. I should mention, when the pharmacy sends these, the only thing that's going to be primed is going to be the cartridge itself and this small pigtail. The additional tubing that we use is often already attached. However, it is never primed. So please, please, please be careful when you're changing out these cartridges that you look to see, because more than likely this extra tubing is not primed. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the actual Subq needle, which is attached to additional microbore tubing as well. Very simple. This one is on a button. You will take the end connector and attach it here. So now as we move through things, we've got our entire tubing here, which will now need to be primed. For those that haven't seen the Subq, you can see exactly how small this needle is. And with the button on it, you would simply take your thumb and push it right in. So very, very short and not painful at all. All right, so now our pump is ready to go. It's letting you know that it's in the stopped mode. The yellow light is flashing. So the first thing we want to do is to go ahead and connect our cartridge. The hooks come down into the bottom here where you can see they hook right in. You're going to push the cartridge up there. There's 2 locks on the side. There's a button lock here. And we're going to take the side of the CADD key. We're going to lock that in place. And you can tell here it says the reservoir is latched. And then it wants us to hit the next button. Okay, so we need to, for this purpose, we're going to go ahead and clear some of this out because this was a pump that has been used prior. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to unlock this keypad. So there's 2 locks for the keypad. There's a small circular lock here on the side above the button lock, and there's also a keypad lock built within the keypad. So looking at our instructions here, the first thing we're going to do is we have the pump in the stopped mode, which we do. we're gonna press the lock button, which is gonna let us know we're in LL2 or lockout level 2. We want to decrease it down to lockout level 0 with the down arrow button. We're gonna hit the lock and it's gonna ask us for a lock level code, which is 061. And then you will have to manually increase this to 061. And then you're gonna press the lock button again. And you can see that it's changing our lock level. And so now it says that we have a reservoir of 14 milliliters. Well, we're going to pretend that we're initiating a new infusion, so this would be a cartridge of 100 milliliters. So we want to go ahead and change our reservoir volume to whatever that might be. In this case, we're gonna say it's a brand new one, so we're gonna go to 100 milliliters. And then we're going to hit next. And it wants us to confirm if we really are going to change the reservoir to 100 milliliters, which is yes. You can see where it's now changing our reservoir volume. Now it's asking us for our units of measurement, which is milligrams. And if we look at our order, we're going to do 2 milligrams per hour. So we're going to stay with the milligrams. We're going to hit next. And now it wants us to confirm the concentration of 10 milligrams per milliliter. Our order is 10 milligrams per milliliter. Our CADD cartridge label says 10 milligrams per milliliter. So we'll hit next. Our continuous rate currently on this pump is at 4 milliliters, but our dose that we're going to give now is 2 milligrams an hour. So we're going to decrease this down to 2. You can see that this actually moves into tenths, so we can give very small adjustments or decreases on this pump. So we're at 2 milligrams per hour, which is correct based on our order. We're going to hit next. It wants us to confirm that we are going to 2 milligrams per hour. We will say yes. And now it wants us to speak to the demand dose. So this here says the demand dose is 1 milligram, but our order says our demand dose is 1.5 milligrams. So again, we're gonna use the up arrow and we are going to change it to 1.5 milligrams. We'll hit next, which then wants us to confirm we're changing the demand dose to 1.5 milligrams. So we'll select yes. And so it has now changed it. Now it's going to ask our demand dose lockout of 6 minutes, which is correct based on our order. So we will simply hit next. And then it wants to know our max number of doses per hour. Our order reads for a max of 5 per hour. So we will decrease this to 5. We will hit next. Again, it's going to give us a chance to confirm that we really want to make those changes. So we will select yes. Okay. So now the next thing that we need to do, we've got all of our programming in here and we've got the cartridge set, is we now need to prime our tubing all the way to what will be the patient. So you want to hit options, and here we have the prime menu. So we're going to hit enter here to prime. It's going to give you a reminder to disconnect the patient from the patient and open all of your clamps. So we'll open all of the clamps here. We're going to hold the end of our tubing here so we can watch this. And then you will simply hold down the yes. And you can see here by the screen that it's telling you that it's priming. And we can watch it travel through the tubing. And more than likely you keep holding this down, and then usually it'll go so far and then you'll have to lift up and it says continue priming, and we'll want to hit yes because typically it takes more than that. Okay, so we now have our medication coming out the tip of our Subq needle. So it wants to know if we're going to continue priming. We're going to say no, because we are done with priming. So we've got our pump programmed, we've got our tubing primed. So now we want to go ahead and get this ready to take in and attach to the patient. So the next thing that we need to do at this point is we need to lock our pump so that the patient or family or anybody else cannot make changes to this. So it's in the lock level 0, which is to change our programming. So we need to now go back up to lock level 2. So you'll use the up arrow to go to lock level 2. You will push the lock button. Again, it wants to ask the code. So again, you'll manually enter this until you get to 061. Then you will hit the lock button again. And so now it's telling us that this pump is actually stopped. And so what we want to do now is we're going to lock this pump so that we can't make any more changes to the programming. And you'll use the small end of the key. Place it here on this small. You can see there's a little white dot. Put it in here, and then we're going to turn it. And it goes a full quarter of a turn, and it tells you that the cassette is now locked. And next to continue. So we'll hit next to continue. And now it wants to know, are we going to start the pump? So we've done our programming, we've primed all of our tubing. And so at this point, you would want to go into the patient and set up for your Subq infusion. All you simply will need is a ChloroPrep to cleanse the skin, and usually Opsite more than the little one that comes with the tubing so that you can coil your tubing up. So you'll pick out your spot on the abdomen where you'll put your Subq infusion. You will clean it with the ChloroPrep, and then you will use your fingers to keep the skin nice and taut, and you will simply just push this in at a 90-degree angle. And then when it's in the skin, you will coil this up much like you do all of your IVs to secure under the Opsite and keep from the tubing being pulled or the Subq needle being pulled out from the patient and secure it. When you're ready, then we're going to start the pump. And as this pump is doing a start, it's going to do like all other pumps. It's going to give you an automatic review. We can look at the reservoir volume, our units of measurement, our concentration, our continuous rate of 2 milligrams an hour, our demand dose of 1.5 milligrams, our lockout dose of every 6 minutes, and our max dose of 5 per hour. And so with the automatic review complete, we need to clear out our volumes in here. So we're not going to start this pump just yet. So we'll stop the pump, yes. And we need to go in and clear our volume so we can keep track of exactly how much the patient has used either on a shift or for so many days or with each individual cartridge. So we're going to unlock this. We'll go to a lock level 0, hit lock again. If this is brand new from the pharmacy, you won't have to clear this out. But if you're changing a cartridge, you will need to do so. Hit lock again. Okay, so now we'll come here to options. We don't want to prime it, so we're going to hit the down arrow, which is no. We don't need the toolbox, the communications. So we'll come into the event log. Looks like we'll be making a video on that here in a little bit because this isn't cooperating with me. So we'll get out of this. Go back to the lock level here. Lock again, because at this point we want to go ahead and get this going for the patient. So we'll go ahead and hit the start. We're going to start this pump. And it's always going to do an automatic review anytime that you've had it stopped to give you that one last chance to double check all of your settings for your patient. All right, so you can see the green button is flashing now. Our pump is reading that it's running, and we're good to go. You can, hang out and watch to make sure it doesn't beep or alarm to make sure that it starts to infuse. If you want to check this at any point in time you walk in on the patient, you can use the next button. It's going to forward you through the whole entire programming without having to change any of the lock settings. Then the final thing that you'll do is you will connect your button for the PCA dosing. It's got a red dot on the top. Over on this side here, it says there's a data in and out. So you'll lift this tab, and you can see where this red matches the red here, and you simply plug this in. Then they often come with a fanny pack, or they can use a purse or a bag or whatever that this will fit in, so it can become portable within their home or wherever they are at. So that is how you get started with setting up, priming, and programming the CADD pump. And make sure you always know where the key is and don't leave it in the home with the patient. And again, the instructions are in the white binder that is located in the IPU. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me as well. Thank you.